Captain's log supplemental. Here, the female is the hunter, the soldier, larger and stronger than the male. An arrangement considered most sensible and natural.
As this is a female-dominated society, you might wish to make the initial contact.
Of course. On Kabatras, I had to wear furs to meet with the Leadership Council. And on Armis 9, I wore feathers.
I like the way your eyes pick up the color of your tunic. If I recall, you had a gesture of goodwill you wished to give to me.
Compliments of the USS Enterprise.
Very impressive. You attract me like no man ever has.
It's not my function to seduce or be seduced by the leader of another world.
Is that why you're here with me tonight? To learn?
Yes.
Interesting. An alcohol-based synthetic artificially reproducing a floral scent. The purpose of which is
Sexual pleasure.
how does stimulation of the olfactory nerves affect the enjoyment of sex?
Trent, see to the android's needs.
What does that smell?
I don't smell anything.
Yes. Slightly reminiscent of night-blooming Throgni, Captain.
Report, Mr. Crusher.
It kind of just happened.
On the Enterprise, Mr. Crusher, nothing just happens. Don't let this just happen again.
Yes, sir.
You have an appointment in your cabin, Captain, with your bed.
Is that an order, Doctor?
Yes.
It looks horrible. Tastes worse. But it's absolutely guaranteed to make you feel better. I knew you'd like it.
Well, keep with it, Doctor.
Are you wearing cologne? Like something I smelled earlier, something Klingon.
Klingons appreciate strong women.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 14th episode of Next Generation's First Generation, a Star Trek The Next Generation commentary podcast. My name is Patrick Delmore. To my immediate left is Mr. Sascha Shouties.
Hello!
To my right is the divine Miss Alex.
Flatterer.
On her second adventure through the Next Generation. Yeah. This is an exciting episode. I'm glad we have a person with a... Women have Y chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a person with a Y chromosome with us, because this is the one about the matriarchal society.
Basically, this is the 1980s version of what would happen if women were in charge and more like men, and men were more like women.
P.S. There's a Red Dwarf version of this in an alternate universe. You should also check out.
It's a lot better than this.
Google it. It's totally awesome.
And so, we are going to start on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the DVD with us. So, I'll do it again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
So there's the Enterprise warping through space.
Hi,
We've
Grandpa!
Hi, Alex.
Standard captain's log. You know, I never get tired of looking at that ship. It's
me neither.
I always want to pick a corridor and run up and down it. Make it so. He still hasn't really shook out that phrase yet.
Nope.
Is anybody gonna comment on the fact that his visor looks like one of those clamps for your hair that you
That's what it was
originally?
Did
they just spray paint one of those?
Yes.
That looks itchy.
Oh.
Well, they changed it a little bit. Later on, you'll see that there's like divots where his eyes could go, but when they first started filming with it, it was just a hairband.
Hallmark 80s. They couldn't have nailed it any better. It was great. Oh, so what the plot is, there is a ship that went down on an independent planet called Angel One. And as Data says, The elected one is a lady that is in charge.
10 to 1, they magically speak English.
Yeah, the universal translator really is a lazy way around plot development. Now, why did he ask her and not Tasha?
It's interesting, yeah, because it's like really these women would be more interested in Tasha than they would in Troy.
Yeah,
Troy is kind of what they see as negative about their society.
Which is...
All the women on Angel One kind of have a masculine dominance personality.
Oh,
and
okay.
Tasha is very about dominance. That's her job as a security officer.
Okay. Well, they probably wouldn't
So,
have known that if they
anything,
researched
Troy
a
would
little
be
more
an
first.
anomaly because, like, why is this woman acting like a man?
Mm-hmm.
This is a weird episode of reversals. I never really think
the whole thing is dumb because it's like I don't believe for a second that the women on this planet are from a society that's always been like this. They're more like they're more of a we can do it sort of spirit. I don't like we're going to show you essentially. They're not. And this, I think, was done deliberately. They're not shown to be comfortable in the roles they inhabit.
Yeah.
Plus, well, at least speaking as somebody who does what they want when they want, if that was that kind of society, if you're a woman, you do whatever you want and you just don't give a shit about what other people think. Some would be doing the Bush thing, some would be doing the femme thing, some people would be doing both or something.
Well, that was
well
beyond Roddenberry's scope to comprehend.
Yeah,
well, when you ask
but then
Gene
again,
Roddenberry,
he's a man.
If you ask Gene Roddenberry, what does
Yeah,
feminism mean to you? I think you get this episode.
Yeah.
So this episode is directed by Michael Ray Rhodes, written by Patrick Berry, featured music by Dennis McCarthy, cinematography by Edward R. Brown, production code 115, and its original air date, January 25th, 1988. This episode was originally intended to be a commentary of all things on the apartheid in South Africa.
Wow, I don't see that at all.
What's going on in South Africa?
So, at this time, blacks did not have equal rights in South Africa.
Is that a part England invaded?
No. South Africa was run by the Dutch.
Oh, okay.
But the long story short,
the Boers, essentially.
Instead of white people, they put in women in charge.
Wesley's friend that we never see again.
Oh.
God, why are the tween clothes so ugly?
Because it's space in the future.
Ugh, it's just so retarded.
Hey, another transporter sheep.
Everybody else adult is dressed tastefully, but he's got the rainbows and the puffy, generically matte silver suits. Just
see, now Tasha and Troy are there, so it's a very well balanced team. You've got
two men,
two women, two men.
If Data counts as a man, He doesn't come off as masculine. Really
oh, that's true. Also, in Red Dwarf, there was a segment where they restored Red Dwarf after everybody got killed thanks to the nanobots. Spoiler alert. And Crichton, when he got aboard the ship and got all classified and as a staff member and stuff, they didn't recognize him as a man because he didn't have any junk.
Yeah.
So they made him bunk with the women, and he found that really insulting because he identified as a man.
Well, Data is fully functional
in every way.
Yeah, but we and I know that Sascha believes that he is in a continuing on the DL relationship with Tasha, who's the lady next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to substantiate that, to be honest, until we see in season 2 when Data is put on trial. So, in this planet, it opened up, and the beam down sequence, they had this beautiful matte painting of a cityscape. And they just recycled the same 5 planet paintings over and over and over. And it was just such a disappointment to me because I remembered each one. And I'm like, no, that's this planet. No, it's that planet. Unless it was a really popular architect going around from planet to planet. I do like their big hair, though.
Yep.
They've got the glamazon look.
That was, 80s fashion. It was shoulder pads, which they got going on. Big hair. Basically everything to make yourself look big.
I'm surprised we don't see more power colors like yellow.
But it all brings focus to the face, not to the figure. We see our guide here who looks very much like Glenn Close's Albert Nobbs.
They all look like they could be ballet extras.
There's I forget which comedian this is, but it's like a feminine comedian, and she's talking about how everybody in the 80s kind of looks like a bird of prey. They got the big hair, they got the big nails, and the big angry boobs that are like, ah!
Ironically, in the sexist episode, you see in the background the lamps that they use in the racist episode, Code of Honor. So at least there's some continuity there.
Mm-hmm.
Troy with the cold read. They really did that actress a disservice because she is a very beautiful woman, and the way they dressed her up in this show.
She's a very beautiful woman, and just listening to her talk.
More relaxed.
Even now,
why is she so fancy right now?
Even now, like 30 years older,
Not
it's
to
like
say that
she just
I
seems
don't
like
being fancy sometime, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marina Sirtis, every time I see her in an interview or anything, looks like some, your cool aunt that you want to go get a beer with.
Yeah, totally.
I want to go get a beer with Whoopi Goldberg, and she owns her own bar. I forget which season that was.
She's coming up in the next season.
She is second season, yeah.
Oh, P.S. Kate Beaton does comics that are like fan fiction about this whole series.
Yep, Hark a Vagrant. I haven't seen any of it. Actually, no, I have seen some of her Star Trek The Next Generation.
So
I've seen her draw Worf.
This is a running gag. I'm glad they stopped. So the first time Wesley met Picard, Wesley was dripping in water, and it was all over, getting all over the floor. This is a holodeck thing. He'd fallen into a pool of water. Says, well, yes, you better go clean that up. Now it's a ball of a snowball.
And this opens up something that I wish that we'd seen on the planet, is we see how they treat their men. We do not see how they treat their male children on that planet.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
This, with Justice, where Wesley goes to the, hypersexuality planet.
Don't spray it in your face.
Interesting to see what it would have been like if he went to the hyper-feminine planet, especially where, he's a mama's boy. I mean... So it'd be interesting to see how they react to him and how he reacted to them. Tasha here, she is much more 21st century than she is 1980s.
They did a good job on that character, making her a realistic survivor of her narrative.
This rewatch of season 1, I have really enjoyed Tasha Yar a lot.
Is she
By the way, perfume used to be made out of whale's blood.
Yes. Ambergris.
Yeah, they still do that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a thing on Bob's Burgers about this, actually. Ambergris is caused by whales that eat squids, but they can't digest the beaks because it's really hard. So their digestive tract coats it in a waxy substance, and then they either poop or barf it out.
That is just disgusting.
Yeah, and it's a natural compound, so it smells musky and also gross, but when you process it, it keeps perfume from evaporating quickly, but it's super expensive, but it's also totally illegal to sell and stuff, so you gotta do it on the download. People find it on beaches all the time naturally.
Oh, cool.
So if you do it outside the country, you're probably good.
Cool.
You can earn a fortune.
So just to kind of catch up our non-watching visitors, The team has beamed down. They're opening negotiations with the elected one, and they're trying to find the survivors of this crash.
Yeah, they're probably enslaved.
And for some reason that is unknown to us at the moment, the Angel One government doesn't really want to cooperate getting these strangers off their planet. Oh, everyone's getting sick. That's
right. They didn't
plot.
go down there is because of everybody getting sick. They just said in the previous episode they made jokes about the cold not existing anymore when Data was trying to sneeze. So now they're probably afraid to say cold. It's a respiratory ailment.
You think a bunch of people, like, crammed on this ship, even in space, would have just be passing colds back
I like this upshot here of the captain. Now he feels sick. He's rubbing the back of his neck.
That would suck, though. You know he'd have to be touching up his nose and stuff to make sure he didn't fuck up that shop with, like, boogers and shit.
Imagine it's your job to replace all the HEPA filters on the Enterprise.
Oh, man.
That is what I'm talking about right there. They just be passing the same cold back and forth. And then think about what all the weird mutations and stuff the aliens would bring in.
Oh,
let me guess.
Riker's just like, whatever.
This is just the reverse of what the way things are, or to a more hardened extent. The guys are just
Trent.
Social. What is it? Social. God, it's on the.
Oh God, that shot's awful.
They're doing
just put a little Enterprise sticker over a green light.
Civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience. And they don't want the guys to get off scot-free because it sets an example for the other guys. Yeah. That's kind of how it is overseas in Russia. They don't like their women having more of a say.
They have a day screen and a night screen. Riker's being given the little tunic to wear to his business meeting with the head of this government.
So, one thing I want to point out in the difference between the HD and the SD versions. In the HD versions, you can see plenty of Riker chest carpet. And now you're getting into this sexed up jumpsuit, and you're going to see way too much Riker than you ever wanted to see before. But he's cool. He's the Kirk of the episode, so he will gladly get it on for the cause of the mission.
There's also another one in DS9 that's kind of like this.
And now he's...
Quark pretends to be a lady.
Yes.
And dressing in clothes is considered scandalous to them because their women usually walk around naked all the time.
That was a hard episode for me to watch. I couldn't take it seriously. But I do remember that episode well. You were saying, Pat.
Yeah.
What was I talking about? I completely forgot what my point was. That's okay.
Well, we do have this mystery cold floating around. And
don't call it a cold.
Don't call it the space virus.
It's not a tumor.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I had an old TV where you could adjust the color and contrast with these turn dials.
Mine used to do that too.
And so I always thought that the medical uniforms and Beverly's lab coat were the same blue as the engine nacelles. And it really just bugged me. Just in between scenes, I was always playing with that color combo to get the right color blue.
Yeah, it's interesting that Geordi was given the bridge and not...
See?
Look at that one eyebrow. But not Worf. Because I think Worf is Geordi's superior officer.
Well, they don't figure out what Worf and Geordi are about yet.
I look awesome.
Yeah.
The best part is the ribbon on the legs.
Don't laugh.
Look, there's the nipple.
It doesn't matter if he's a guy or not. If it makes him feel pretty, so much the better.
Yep.
Now, Tasha's response here, I think, is very appropriate for this time setting. She's like, this is ridiculous. You look like a joke.
He's just going for
He needs a little pointed hat to go with it, though. But, I mean, they've probably had to deal with, Riker's hypermasculinity so much that it's perfect for them to get to see this here. And he might have thought about that, too. He's like, here I am on this planet, and maybe I have pressed my advantage a little too much with the female crew. So, I can let it slide a little while I'm here.
All the uniforms pretty much look the same. The female crew isn't showing titty.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Serial, I'm sorry. And this was a year before The Little Mermaid. Actually, 2 years for The Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid was 89, I want to say.
So I do want to kind of do some quick plot commentary. The original plot by Patrick Berry would have seen Riker and Data travel to the surface with an otherwise all-female away team, which offended the planet's leader to the extent that Yar stuns him with a phaser to show the strength in order to prevent his immediate execution.
If it's a mostly female landing party, who gives a shit?
So, yeah, it's a half and half.
Oh, half and half?
Now it's half and half. I think, I don't quite get what the offense was. Unless, again, the initial thing was to be about apartheid.
Yeah.
So it was like, so in this, they're racist against men being in charge.
Exactly. And so it continues to say that originally Riker was to be imprisoned as one of the marooned men. Yeah.
There's also
And then they begin an uprising with those marooned men.
Yeah.
So, this is really interesting because we see a lot of very interesting plot pitches that get watered down frequently, where the original point seems to be lost. Because when I'm watching this, I would have not known this was about apartheid. I was just thinking about...
Absolutely
apartheid?
not.
I just see it as boys don't like girls.
Okay, apartheid is a system of government in South Africa, which we recognize, which President Reagan, who was president at the time this came out, recognized as legitimate.
Yeah.
That basically the black citizens of that country had to pay tolls, have special visas to go everywhere. They were completely second-class citizens, did not have the same rights as...
It was just totally racist.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another... It's some sort of version like this if you've read the manga Frankenfran.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, Frankenfran, it's kind of like Frankenstein, but it's kind of other thing. There's a guy who's been alive for a really long time because of all the medical techniques he absorbed. He makes himself a daughter / companion, and he leaves her alone, and she learns all the techniques, and then she decides to use her knowledge to help everybody in the world around her. Anybody who comes to her door, she helps. It usually results in something ironic and kind of hideous.
That sounds like Blackjack Chapter 2.
Yeah, it might even be by the same person, but you'd have to Google it.
I don't think it is.
Okay, one of the story arcs is she goes to a island of all women. And during one of the wars, it was just an island full of people who had been abused by men, and they're like, we want the ability to reproduce asexually so we don't have to deal with guys anymore. The problem with doing that is that when the gene pool has no richness or variety, a lot of mutations and health conditions.
Yep.
Which ties
and
into
the episode
there
Justice.
is a island of all men that did the same thing during the war. So they figure out that they're next door to each other, and then they decide to get together, and it's fine for a while, but then it erupts into warfare, and then one child is born betwixt the two that has both genders, and it kind of solves the problem.
Although
but all of the other people end up killing each other. It's really weird.
For the apartheid metaphor, we do have several scenes in this where two black actors are the only people on screen. Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton. So that I guess is something.
I guess. not enough to really register.
No, but just because the apartheid thing came up. So here we are with the amazingly feather-haired crash crew that landed on the planet.
Who's dressed a little more tastefully?
Yeah, because he's not from
protest.
that. He's not from that planet. Yeah. He's been marooned there for a while.
Yeah. You were so putting the moves on him.
Oh yeah.
So this is realistic that any form of government that's not your own government is considered anarchy.
It's not our position to interfere in domestic affairs.
Well,
and
then you
speaking
have
of
to,
positions,
you really have to get into the question of: do we judge your government as legitimate based on how you treat your citizens? And the gut feeling everybody is like, yeah, I mean, if you treat your people terribly, then you're not a legitimate government. That's nice wishful thinking, and then you look at the real geopolitical tensions of today, and it's a lot harder.
It's a noble thing to interfere with other people's governments to liberate those people that are being taken advantage of, but a lot of people are going to get killed when you do that. So It's kind of a tenuous thing. It's a totally normal thing to do, and God bless you if you want to go for that.
Oh, look at her raking her.
But a lot of people are going to get killed. So if you do that of your own free will, good on you.
I have a metaphor for this, but it may be
Don't
too
hook up
X-rated.
with somebody who thinks you're eye candy and nothing more, though. It's just a rule of thumb.
But that's the position Riker's in. He's the eye candy.
Exactly.
Well, he's on a diplomatic mission, so I think he can kind of get away with anything.
Is he seducing her on
my
purpose?
metaphor for this is we've seen that the other men on this planet are smooth-chested. So would this be... I don't know if I'm pushing the envelope here by the metaphor what I want to compare this to. Okay, and by Sascha's laughter.
I see where you're going here.
Do you want to join us?
Time to get the tape measure.
No, he's of the. I think
totally
the gag here. The gag here is that this is what Oh,
look at that prop.
Beads to Indians right here.
And Deep Space Nine, that's the Vash episode creature that they bring from
drugs?
No, it's literally he just gave them a fancy bead.
Yeah.
This is a complete Beads to Indian situation. I've been reading on my YouTube channel, Kentley, where I read kids' books, a lot of pre-1950s books, and colonialism plays into it so much. It's like, how do we understand this situation? These people are primitives. They're Indians. Give them something shiny to look at. This is holds true in a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, where it's decided that the European citizenry of that time are white Indians. And it's still true in this first season of Star Trek The Next Generation. I've mentioned it before. Picard is a colonialist, and his crew follows him.
And the Federation is actually openly in an expansion period. Every other episode, they're dropping off colonists somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's this weird stuff in the middle. Everybody else is shaved. He's hairy, but that also brings into that whole question with women right now.
Yeah.
All adult women have body hair. It grows naturally. It's a hormonal thing. That's the way it is. They don't regulate that stuff in guys at all. It's not considered something of beauty when it comes to
you're just talking about social expectations.
Yeah. Unless you're doing a Nordic Track commercial, and then they'll shave it so you can see the muscles
tone
and stuff.
Yeah.
Guys don't shave their stuff unless they actually want to, but everybody flips out when a girl does not shave.
Yeah.
But she's actually attracted to a guy that doesn't shave, despite the fact there's that weird underpinning of baldness equals youth equals virility. It's a weird...
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just never thought of it that way. So
That's the
here's an idea.
psychological thing most people talk about.
When I watched this show
Yeah.
as a 9-year-old,
Yeah.
My concept of hygiene was...
No, nobody thought of that as a kid.
My concept of hygiene then was...
Brush your teeth.
Or bar of deodorant. You see commercials of people using bars of deodorant. They take the deodorant. They wouldn't do it on their arm. They'd do it on the armpit. They'd do it down the side of their arm. So for some reason as a kid, I thought you were supposed to use the bar of deodorant on your whole body. It would just be because as a kid, you only understand what you see. I was 9. I didn't quite really need deodorant yet.
To that extent, have you ever seen those pad commercials where they're pouring the blue liquid? That's not what you're supposed to put on it.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a dent. It's not.
So when you turn around and you look at an episode like this, as a kid, all I can judge is right and wrong to the scene. I can't take apart the larger picture.
No kid could.
All I know is that
1984 as a little kid.
Yeah, right there, I'm like, well, what the heck is up with this lady?
Mistress Ariel's bad.
Yeah.
She wants to help them.
So, it was simple because good and bad were very clear until they got to the reversal in the third act. And that was the hug and learn moment. I think that's why the first season was so terrible with adults and so great with kids, is because people were just dumb as a rock when it came to writing.
My parents could have, this show aired where I lived on Saturday night at about 7 o'clock. So my parents could have people over in the front room, and I'd be at the back of the house watching Star Trek. It was just, the other wall of that room.
I was getting late.
Trent, what are you doing here?
They have returned, mistress, but without Ramsay or the others.
What are you doing with our first officer?
And it's funny because it's like Riker is fully dressed, but gives him this look. He's got this.
I'm petting the kitty.
Yeah.
What do you want?
The look that he has on his face.
We call that, Patrick, the walk of shame.
Yeah.
And there should not be such a thing. If you're getting laid in college or whatever, if you're going to get laid in general and it was consensual, high five all your neighbors, for God's sake. Why does it have to be shameful?
Why, Dennis? Where are you going in such a hurry? Me and Margaret just played 7 minutes in heaven, Mr. Wilson. Oh, dear Martha.
Well, Alex,
that takes me back.
Yeah.
That's how I met Martha,
Wow.
Oh, she's a feisty little kitty.
Oh, I forgot that. I forgot that Patrick Stewart here had a carpet too.
Hey, Alex, Grandpa Chest.
No, he's not my type.
He's your grandpa.
No. He's everybody's grandpa. He's so freakishly regal looking.
I had a roommate in Tennessee who we found our common interest with Star Trek. He was a very svelte Southern black man, and I was talking to him on the phone, arranging that I was going to live with him, and I was like, he was asking me what my interests were, and I mentioned Star Trek, and he's like, "Oh my God, did you just say Star Trek?" He says, he says Jean-Luc Picard is my white daddy. And he had
Jean-Luc Picard was his white daddy.
Yeah, and he had a full-length poster of Captain Picard from season 1, like actual height, on the back of his door.
Okay, you haven't gotten that bad yet.
Hey, look, there's a plot development here. The doctor just figured out.
Huge gay sex symbol back in the day, though.
Who was?
He was.
But good for him. I mean, speaking of feminists, he is a true feminist. He is a true equal opportunist. He's like, if men are attracted to me, I don't have to sleep with them, but I can certainly, pay into that by appearing at gay functions and supporting gay people, and
because they actually believe it at the same time, though. If you just did it for the sake of publicity, that would be sleazy. But if you do those things and you actually believe in the cause, that would be more beneficial and it would be more truthful. They totally do. Ian McKellen is also big on that, too.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It's a pity they aren't boyfriends. That would be totally adorable.
Yeah, but it's like, I think Benedict Cumberbatch is like the next guy to fall into that, but you didn't see, what's his name? Legolas playing into the whole gay thing when
Not my
girls
type.
would do
I
it.
had told you, if I'm gonna go for monster guys or fantasy crap, big dudes. I'm sorry.
So, just to kind of give you a clue into the episode that we're watching, there is a third plot problem because they just can't move the plot along. Something about Romulans and the Enterprise needs to move on somewhere else.
Yeah, this is weird. This is the first mention of Romulans in this series.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear
Do
more
that
about
at the
them.
top of the hour.
Yeah, I wish they did. So long story short, the Enterprise needs to leave, which means they need to resolve this problem now. AKA, the writers did not know how to tie this episode off.
And this is very much a so what of a problem. It's like the people that are there are not Federation citizens. There's a private ship. They're not. I mean, they've been seen. They're not in immediate danger. Like nothing bad is going to happen.
Ah, they do paperwork. Holy cow! We kill more trees than people.
And it's like it's like this is It's like this is the Romulans. This is serious business.
Yeah.
You don't need to mess around with Angel One. It's kind of like the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode where when are they going to get to the fireworks factory part of the storyline.
So apparently Will is trying to negotiate for all the men and family local folks that they captured, saying that give them a piece of land somewhere that they can live and not interfere with, I don't know. It's just such a terrible episode.
It's kind of what I
This is by far and
now.
away the worst episode of season 1 so far. I would say it's even worse than Code of Honor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, at least Code of Honor had continuity. It had a point.
Yeah.
No vaccine, no Lieutenant Yaw!
Yeah.
This is just kind of like, we found some people, they're not affiliated to you, why are you messing with us? And now we gotta leave.
Yeah, this is the only reason they're pissed off. And it's the same reason they were pissed off in Bitch Planet. They don't want them to have their own lane to do their own thing, because the other menfolk that are born in their society, they're gonna win defect too. That's their right as an adult who thinks for themselves. And if you have a problem with that, maybe you need to reform your opinion.
I want PR to be like, your Han Solo act isn't impressing anyone, Ramsey.
You know?
He's like, I got this great vest. I got this great hair. Why don't they care? Why don't they care? This was cool. Man, I rocked high school. I owned that place. I got my own ship. I called it the Odin. We took off. Adventure was going to be our middle name. And now I'm here on this planet full of, like, chicks. And they're, like, frigid and shit. I'm not having fun.
Time to get back into your T-top, buddy.
I hate
find
to be
another
that
channel.
girl, but considering the way this society works, they'd probably nail you if your tits were out and you had a piercing.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get laid, do that. If you're not, keep it in your pants or pursue other
Well, it's not
interests.
about getting laid. It's about having families. That was the very interesting thing.
That's what they want to do. They want a commitment, and they want families, and they want to be a person.
And the government doesn't like it, and they want to break them up.
So what do they do to procreate if they don't have families?
Well, no, it's not so much that they're having families. It's that you have men in charge without the permission of the government. And that's a problem. And it's so much a problem that the government has to execute these people to make a point. And that's very much, let's bring it back to the apartheid example. The government did not like it when black people owned their community and sought self-determination.
Is that the whole thing they were doing in the 70s when the, police were targeting the
Panthers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was during the
stick
American...
it to them.
That was during the American Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah.
Where there was a number of paranoid factors that just turned into a big messy situation where you had the man trying to keep the black people
to be
down.
fair, the CIA was responsible for the arrest, under Kennedy's direct orders, was responsible for the arrest of Nelson Mandela, who became the president of South Africa.
What did he even do, by the way?
He was fighting against apartheid.
And you know what he did?
Sorry, refresh my memory.
So Nelson Mandela was a political advocate.
Okay.
And he was eventually arrested, put in jail, released from jail, and then became the president of
South Africa.
Country. Yeah,
which is where apartheid. Which is where the apartheid.
So the government itself wasn't called apartheid; it was a standard of practice. It was the good old boys. It was.
So they liked him so much they made them the leader of.
I think
country.
it was called an apartheid government.
Sorry,
I think
the
they
only
did name
thing
it
I
as that.
remember about Nelson Mandela is that he spearheaded the genetics thing with his bean plants back in the day.
So
they mentioned it in biology class.
I do have to apologize to the listeners here because now after this episode's done, I think I'm going to make it a point to read up on the apartheid because all I remember is just elementary school, middle school, high school. I was too busy doing my own thing to really pay attention, but this is a big issue.
Yeah.
This is a huge issue.
And Alex has been recommending a lot of anime and stuff. If you want a junior, no-nonsense, cut and dry look at apartheid that everybody can enjoy, the Disney Channel original movie, The Color of Friendship, is what you want to watch.
No kidding.
Yeah, it is about an African-American family that wants an exchange student from South Africa in the 1970s.
Recommended reading.
And rather than getting a black girl from South Africa, they get a white girl from South Africa to come live with them.
Is there such a thing?
Yes. Because, again, it was
say that because Lori went over there.
The Dutch, or rather the Boers, were in charge of South Africa at the time. A South African accent is very similar to an Australian accent. The most famous black South African that we have in the public view right now is, of course, Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show.
Yes.
Who was very young when apartheid ended. Apartheid ended when I was in 5th grade, and Trevor Noah is about 3 years younger. No, younger than that. Trevor Noah's like 8 years younger than me. So.
I haven't watched his version of it. I liked... What was his name?
So sorry for all of
the
diversions. This is not a what 3 people in the middle of the night can remember about history podcast. We've seen this planet's vase evaporating machine that they also apparently use on humans.
Great for pottery and unwanted house guests.
So are they not dead and just transported somebody somewhere else?
No, they're dead.
Yeah.
All that shit.
Yeah.
And Riker is trying to pull off a very poorly constructed Picard speech.
No, they're still going to talk about that until you liberate them.
Honestly, I can't remember how this one ends. I do know that people get what they want, but...
The execution, Mr. Ramsey and his followers, may elevate them to the status of martyrs. Martyrs cannot be silenced.
That actually says a lot.
And then they're going to overthrow you. This is the exact same shit we're going through right now with the Women's March and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the first thing I thought of when he said that was Malcolm X.
Oh, well, that too.
He was killed for his beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think had he not been killed, I probably wouldn't have remembered his name.
Well, he'd still be going around as a guy in his late 70s now. I mean,
true.
You got to remember these were young men.
Well, this is a weird thing because we were all born after the Civil Rights Movement.
Correct.
So we don't have first-hand experience to really appreciate the true struggle of what's going on.
You know what? I should ask my dad about that. He's 60.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of people that would listen to this podcast that have gone through the civil rights movement. And the original series really tried to address that. The first interracial kiss was on Star Trek with Captain Kirk and Uhura. So that was big controversial stuff back then.
I don't know why anybody puts any stock in that, though. It's melanin. Who gives a shit?
Yep, but you gotta understand. We are in a different world today than we were back then.
In general, that's just dumb, though.
Yeah?
Somebody's more tan, let's treat them like shit. You could just read your book on the subway and mind your own business and not treat a bunch of people like shit, but you choose not to because you're full of shit. This is the thing I realized the other day. I have met more racist people on the bus in the city than I have living in some hayseed suburb of Spokane, and that's really depressing.
Yeah.
There's always somebody
good people
sitting
everywhere.
on the bus, talking really loudly. Oh my god.
So I want to bring it back to the episode. This scene is just grown to a crawl. They tried to liberate the folks. The gentleman is on the execution block. But
Ariel gets her man. I love Trent here is like, if things change, am I going to have to start having sex with women?
I actually heard somebody on YouTube bitching about gay marriage doing that. Are they all of a sudden going to... If this happens, do I automatically have to divorce my husband and start licking pussy? No!
Whoa.
It just means you have both now. If you want to get married to a chick, you can do that. If you want to get married to a dude, you can do that. If you want to get married to an unspecified kind of person.
So there's the team. They're beaming away. Somehow the situation was solved.
And then the true ruler of the planet, the great orifice, speaks.
Yeah.
That sounds like rainbows to me.
So, this is an episode that had so much potential, but just did not deliver.
Just fell flat. And they are all getting inoculated from their very unfortunate adventure.
Yeah.
We're not going to show it happening to Tasha.
Here's Data. It's like, why did I just get spanked?
Yep.
That's the voice I try to do when I call into work.
Did you put on a silly outfit and flitter about like a giant hairy butterfly man?
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
So they're going somewhere?
Is it just me, or is he annoyed because he didn't get to dress pretty?
No.
He would have loved it. He would have done feathers and...
Yeah. Picard would own it.
I'm so shiny.
Yeah. Well, Picard, see, he's on the ship now, and he even commented on that, like, I forgot how much fun it was to be a first officer. Yeah, see, when you're the captain, you can't leave the ship. You can't go and have the fun.
So lots of peculiar diversions in this episode. Our next episode is a real pot boiler.
Woo!
It's a real pot boiler. You don't know what's going on. You can watch it now on our Facebook page. You can get an early clip of that. It's the binary episode. Set your phasers for excitement,
Woo!
And we'll see you then.
Hasta luego.
Bye, everyone.
Better that than a theremin.
Oh, I am so going to learn the theremin now and put it on this podcast. So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what's a Star Trek
Hi,
Next Generation?
I'm the guest.
So Sascha, what is Star Trek? We're only in the first season right now, so there's a lot that's coming down the line.
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Sweet Love by Ryan Anderson, Electric Car by Poddington Bear. Music heard in this podcast can be found at freemusicarchive.org. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.
Love him or hate him, everybody's got something to say about John Byrne.
He ruined the X-Men when he left.
That John Byrne, he's a sexist pig.
The only thing bigger than John Byrne's ego is... Oh, wait, there isn't anything bigger than John Byrne's ego.
John Byrne, he just draws the greatest butt on Superman. It looks so good.
John Byrne is the greatest artist I've ever seen. Wait, who is he?
John Byrne's 1986 Man of Steel series gave us the core reimagining of Superman that is still with us today.
Third Degree Byrne, a podcast about all things John Byrne. The good, the bad, and the legendary. Join Tim Elliott and Brian Hughes as they look over the nearly 5 decades body of work of one of the most influential comic book creators in the last 50 years. Third Degree Byrne can be found at twotruefreaks.com and on iTunes.
I got a question, though. I just am curious. Why? Doesn't Green Lantern have any junk?